In 1967, during one of the tensest periods of the Cold War, a United States satellite hovered over the Soviet naval base of Kaspiysk. Flying over the Caspian Sea, the imagery system suddenly captured images of a giant object that appeared to be over 325 feet long. The CIA initially thought the object was some sort of rig or platform. However, further surveillance by U-2 spy planes determined that it was actually an aircraft, unlike anything ever seen in the West. Dubbed the Caspian Sea Monster by the Americans, the Soviet aircraft was indeed an unlikely beast. A prototype of an ekranoplan, the hybrid vessel and aircraft vehicle, was designed to fly as fast and close to the sea surface as possible. And despite its length and estimated 500,000-pound weight, it proved to be highly effective. During initial testing, the behemoth aircraft was reportedly capable of reaching speeds of over 400 miles per hour. Despite not knowing exactly what the aircraft was, the design ignited a sense of panic among the Americans, prompting the CIA to launch a secretive drone program. The ground effect. During the Cold War, Soviet Union leaders became fixated on having their own ground effect vehicles, and Russian engineers experimented with several variants of the concept during the lengthy conflict. Also known in Russia as ekranoplans, these vehicles were a mix of airplanes and ships that cruised over the water at high speeds at 3 to 16 feet without actually touching it. Ekranoplans take advantage of the ground effect aerodynamic principle, the reduced aerodynamic drag that an aircraft's wings generate when close to a fixed surface. Due to the aircraft's potential with the army, Soviet leader Nikita Khrushchev fully supported the venture and gave chief designer Rostislav Alexiev an open checkbook in 1964 to move forward with its development. He believed it was an excellent opportunity to one-up their Western rival. For 2 years, the Central Hydrofoil Design Bureau officers and scientists, directed by lead engineer V. Efimov, worked extensively on the experimental ekranoplan manufactured at the Red Sormovo plant in Gorky. Then, in 1966, Russia's first significant ekranoplan concept was ready. It was dubbed Karabi Market, or KM, roughly translated to prototype ship. Flying ship. At the time of the prototype's construction, the KM was the largest aircraft in the world, and one of the earliest major ekranoplan projects. With a wingspan of 123 feet, a length of 302 feet, and a maximum takeoff weight of 500,000 pounds, the KM was designed to fly at an altitude of 16 to 33 feet to use the ground effect. Russia's mighty ekranoplan had a crew of 5 and a capacity for up to 50 passengers. But despite its size and weight, the KM could reach speeds of up to 340 miles per hour, thanks to the power from 8 turbofans on its wings. The aircraft could even take off and land in stormy weather with waves of up to 8 feet. The vehicle's intended mission with the Soviets was to conduct lightning-speed seaborne attacks, armed with 6 anti-ship missiles located in launch tubes at the top of its hull. The KM was also immune to mines, torpedoes, and anti-submarine nets, and was undetectable to many Allied radar systems, as it flew far below the minimum detection altitude. Because of its hybrid nature, Russian authorities assigned the KM to the Soviet Navy, but it was to be operated by Air Force test pilots. First tests. On June 22, 1966, the KM was transported along the Volga River, covered in camouflage and moving only after nightfall, until they reached the testing grounds on the Caspian Sea. The vehicle was registered as a marine vessel, and a bottle of champagne was broken against the KM before its first flight, a common tradition for the maiden voyage of a watercraft. Then, on October 16th, Vladimir Loganov and Rostislav Alexiev were the first men to fly the finished KM, a strange occurrence, since Soviet designers did not pilot their own creations. Initial tests were highly successful for such an experimental program. Several sources indicate that during the first few flights, the massive aircraft-vessel hybrid reached over 460 miles per hour. For a few years, the Russian ekranoplan remained hidden from prying Western eyes, performing several trials over the Caspian Sea as the Soviet engineers worked on improving the project. Aquiline. In 1967, the West found out about the top-secret KM project when photographs captured by American spy satellites showed the vehicle taxiing during a test in Kaspiysk. The strange aircraft-like vehicle, with the letters KM written on it, puzzled intelligence agencies in the Western world. According to a now unclassified document, the American officials reported that, quote, a large aircraft-like vehicle was seen resting on barges at Kaspiysk along the shore of the Caspian Sea. The vehicle has short, stubby wings, a high T-shaped tail, and 10 to 12 jet engines. Briefing cites several theories on the purpose of this unusual craft, which apparently is still under development. The discovery came at the height of the Cold War and deeply concerned the CIA, which didn't exactly know what it was dealing with. As such, the service set up a dedicated task force that developed the first purpose-built unmanned drone under Project Aqualine to discover the truth behind the vehicle and other Soviet-made projects. The program's mission was to develop, attain, and maintain an operational capability to conduct covert surveillance in Soviet-denied areas. Initially assumed to be an unfinished standard aircraft, intelligence agents determined that the vehicle could not fly very high. At the time, ekranoplan's were a relatively novel concept in the West, so the idea was never truly considered. The type's deployment on the Caspian Sea, a vast inland body of water between Soviet Union territory and Iran, led to the Americans calling the strange vehicle the Caspian Sea Monster. Fall from grace. Despite the outstanding initial results of the Russian KM, the project's support soon faded away. After Leonid Brezhnev succeeded Nikita Khrushchev as the leader of the Soviet Union, he cut the program's funding severely. As such, Alexeyev moved on to other ekranoplan projects, including the A-90 Orleanak. Inspired by KM's grandness, the group also developed the Lun military ground effect vehicle. This anti-aircraft machine weighed 280 tons, was 246 feet long, and was fitted with 6 rocket launchers to engage with enemy ships. After the project failed, the Russian high officials blamed Alexeyev for the incident, and the Soviet Supreme removed him as chief of the bureau. Even so, the KM ekranoplan prototype continued to be tested on the Caspian Sea for 15 years. Dormant Monster. Once seen as a promising specialized vehicle for military and rescue workers, the ekranoplan's larger-than-life design caused many difficulties. In 1980, the prototype crashed into the Caspian Sea due to a pilot error during a test flight and suffered irreparable damage. Being such a massive plane, the Russian engineers found it impossible to retrieve the KM prototype from the waters. Consequently, the Caspian Sea Monster was left to float and rot in the ocean, completely abandoned after the collapse of the once mighty Soviet Union. It was around this time that United States intelligence finally discovered that the secret aircraft project was, in fact, a large ekranoplan. Floating by itself and with no supervision, the abandoned vessel aircraft became a popular site for urban exploration, with thousands of visitors constantly taking pictures and videos of the inside of the Soviet Union's massive aircraft. A 21st century return. While ground effect vehicles have fallen out of favor in the decades after the demise of the Soviet Union, the concept has since experienced a resurgence. As of 2022, Singapore, the United States, China, and Russia are all working on separate projects that aim to bring ekranoplans back to life, albeit with a more peaceful purpose. In 2017, Russia's Lazurit Central Design Bureau officials announced the development of a new ekranoplan. With a potential rollout date of 2025, the new ekranoplan model will serve in Arctic search and rescue and supply operations under the working name Rescuer. According to an official press release, the project is based on specific requirements from the Russian Navy's commander-in-chief. This new ekranoplan will supposedly have a massive 230 feet wingspan, a loaded weight of over 600 tons, and a range of 1,000 miles. Even so, there is no concrete evidence that the Rescuer is actually being built, but Russian projects tend to be developed under the radar. Ekranoplan aircraft vessels remind us of a critical time in history, when innovations by both the Soviet Union and the United States excelled, as the nations desperately tried to outdo each other. Thank you for watching Dark Skies. If you enjoyed our video, please give us a thumbs up and share it with someone who might like it. Also, discover the rest of our Dark Documentaries channels to learn more about history's most significant battles and beyond. We publish new content regularly, so stay tuned.